Layla, delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for doing this. And
Thank you, thank you,
over to
thank
you.
you. Hi, everyone. My name is Layla Hecker. So, for those of you who do not know me, I am a proud EXO member. I am also part of the AI working group. So, if any of you are not in the AI working group, please make sure that you join because we are phenomenal. Um, this is my first masterclass, so forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I do want you to walk away with information that you can really use. I also, at the end, have a quiz for you guys to take to kind of judge where you are in the knowledge management world pertaining to your life and also pertaining to your business life and your personal life, so that you can kind of see, based on our conversation, what you may want to change, what you may want to get better at. Okay?
Hi, I'm Kent from the future, and I am the co-founder of OpenExO. I'm thrilled that you've joined us for this masterclass by Layla Hecker, one of our certified OpenExO community members. Layla will take us on a journey today into the world of knowledge management, and she'll do it through one of the most versatile tools available today, Notion. Notion's ability to customize and adapt to your needs is impressive. She'll dive into collaboration tools and integrations that make working with others seamless and efficient. And then she'll also share how Notion grows with you as your needs evolve. Tools like Notion are crucial for anyone building EXOs. If you want to dive deeper into how this can be used in an EXO context with the 10 EXO attributes and MTP, then join our next EXO Discovery Workshop. You can find all the information you need on our website at www.openexo.com. You'll also find that link in the description below. So let's dive into Notion with Layla and discover how to bring order and harmony to the way we manage information.
Now, the other thing I want you to know is in this day and age, it is a lot of information coming at us all the time, nonstop, 24/7, 365. And keeping up with all of that is difficult for everyone. It is not just you. You are not terrible. You are not crazy. You are not a failure because you cannot keep up with Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is what we're getting every day based on knowledge, right? So it is okay for you to be where you are. And if you just try to improve what your current placement is by like 1 or 2% a day, I think that within a very short period of time, you will feel very confident that you have essentially a second brain. And that second brain is going to help you in a multitude of different ways. So let's get started. Okay. So, as I said, I'm Layla Hecker, and this is essentially the introduction to knowledge management using Notion. Now, Notion is my fave. It does not necessarily need to be your fave, but I will try to tell you why it should be your fave. However, you don't have to listen. You can choose something else if that is the one that makes you happy. You can choose Evernote, you can choose Trello, you can choose a multitude of different things. The reason why I like Notion is because Notion is essentially like no-code software that you could customize in whichever way that you need to see the things that you need to see when you need to see it. So that's why that's my fave, but you are also welcome to choose something else. I just want you to choose something. Pick something that you can start pouring this information into so that you can be able to not have all of this being stored in your brain, which is not really meant for that purpose. Let the computer take on that information. Let the computer help you dissect, sort, go through things. Okay. So, intro to Notion management, intro to knowledge management using Notion. Here we go. Okay. So, hold on, my screen. Okay, there we go. So, here's a brief overview of knowledge management. I want you to kind of think of it as three buckets, right? The first bucket, I want you to think of capturing information from the variety of places that you get information from, whether it be websites, emails, PDFs that you received, classes that you took, YouTube videos that you watch. You have information coming in from a variety of different places, and I want you to find some place for you to capture that. I personally use Notion, and I use Notion in a couple of different ways. One is utilizing the Notion web clipper, which you'll see that little icon right on top of my screen in the extension bar. I clip things from the internet and put them into Notion using that button. However, you can do it manually, you can do it on your phone, you can do voice dictation, whatever way that you need to capture information, capture it, because once you capture it, then you can decide about how to leverage that information. Now, that can come in a multitude of different ways as well. You can use it to surface for yourself so that you can think about things in a more clear way. You can store information in the way that you think about it. For instance, I create a Notion page for different topics and just pile the topic with things that I pull from the internet in a multitude of different ways and just throw it in there. I don't even care that it's not organized. I just put it in there so that I know that if I need to know something about that topic, I can just search my Notion account and pull up that page with all of that stuff. As I have time, because this is an iteration process. As you have time, as you have clarity, you can then organize your pages to be the perfect page that you would like to see with all of the bells and whistles. But as long as you capture it, you have options. If you don't capture it, you are always fumbling, always behind. And we cannot afford that in this place that we are in this day and age. There's just too much information coming for us to feel like we're behind on everything all the time. That's just going to lead to added stress and I'm sure a heart attack if we don't watch it. Okay. So the second thing that I want you to know is once you capture that information and think about leveraging it, then I want you to say, okay, how will I leverage it? So I will use this information to make better decision-making processes, right? So I know that I need to think about these kinds of things on Tuesday after 7 p.m. I can put a Notion page for Tuesday for after 7 p.m. so that the things that I need to think about can come up at that time. But maybe it's just something that I want to think about and marinate on over a while, right? Like maybe it's just something that I want to kind of collect information as I come across it, and then someday in the future, make a decision on it. There is also that avenue that you can go. The third way I'd like you to think about it is for fostering your innovation, because as you put things into your Notion has an AI function, which will allow you to essentially surf your brain. I can surf my brain and put together things that were not necessarily linked together before, but now I see them in a new context and I can now link them together. Now, after we come up with the capturing, and then we now have this, how will we use it? We will think about what will happen to this information after. How do we preserve this knowledge, not just for me, but for the future, right? Now, AI can help you organize by pulling things via search and surfacing that for you, but you may also have knowledge that you have as the business owner, the only person in the company who knows X about X. What happens if you get sick? What happens if you can't go to work? What happens if you're on vacation and just don't want to be at work? That is always an option as well, right? So maybe that's where you are. And if that's the case, what does your company do when they need that information? Do they need to call you or email you? What happens when your company loses an employee? For whatever reason, that employee now has to go. What happens to the information that maybe only they had about that specific client, or only they had about how to fix the copy machine? Whatever it is, small or large, it can help you if you get those things down so that multiple people can use it within the organization, not just yourself, okay? Now, understanding the Notion platform, Notion, and I haven't started showing you the Notion platform yet, right? Because I wanted to talk through these things, because when I show it to you, we're going to look at how these different things can be useful. Number one, it's flexible. You have a wide variety of ways that you can see these things, okay? You can add multiple different types of content. You can add text, videos, images, files from different places. You can use databases, full page databases, or inline databases. Now, the difference between those two are an inline database allows you to put multiple databases, sometimes the same database, just surfaced in a different way, sometimes a completely new database that has nothing to do with the first. You can have that all on one page based on your needs for that page. The third thing, well, sorry, not the third thing, the fourth thing is the fact that you can customize your workflows. You can use Notion to create templates that will allow you to then, at the click of a button, decide, I need, when I pull up an onboarding for a new employee, all of these things need to come up so that I can solve all of that one time for this employee and be done. Or pull this up and see all of these different details about this employee, maybe from separate systems, maybe from just within the company, separate teams, okay? Now, setting up your Notion for knowledge management, right? You have a wide variety of options. Now, at first, you can get bogged down with the idea of where do I start? Because Notion, when you open it, it's essentially a blank page, right? Where do I start? First, the first thing that you should do is just simply start deciding what I need to know and how do I need to know it. And you could do that on pen and paper, right? You can literally just decide what do I need to know and how do I need to know it. Pen and paper, get that base down, and then you can start building your Notion out to provide the things that you need. Now, if you look at the brief image to the side, you'll notice that this says home base, right? Because this is a team's home base, and it has quick links to things like to-do lists, employee scratch pad, everybody at a meeting, clients, etc. It has onboarding, it has company policies, and it has documentation. Each of these things are their own pages that could have databases, that could have spreadsheets, that could have all kinds of different things enclosed within that page. But when you see it here in this dashboard, in this page, it is in a clear way that is surfaced for you based on these needs. But what if tomorrow or for another team member, they need to see that same information in a different way? They can do that and not affect the way you see your stuff. That is one of the key things that I love about Notion and how useful it can be, not just for an organization, but for you as a person, because you can surface things as you need to see them based on the way your brain works and not necessarily just have to do what everyone else is doing because that's what the company set up, okay? So the next page is about organizing and categorizing in Notion, okay? So you have knowledge that you want to put into Notion. How do I do that? The first thing, once you create that list of what I want to know and how do I want to know it, is you start breaking those things down into categories, okay? You can decide whether this is for a certain team, whether this is for a certain level of the company. So maybe if it's for a certain team, maybe it's for the marketing department or the sales department or operations department. If it is for a certain level within the company, maybe it is for HR, right? And only the CEO and the head of HR gets to see this information. Maybe it's for the whole HR department. It can depend. Notion allows you to select what area people have access to, but the first thing to know before you decide what permissions to give is what your categories are, okay? Now, also, for everyone who's listening, I can send you guys these slides if you need them. If it's going to be helpful, just let me know. Okay, now the second thing for you to know when starting to organize and categorize your data is a tagging system. Now, nobody's tagging system is perfect. Nobody's tagging system is seamless. You will probably change some things, iterate. Iteration is your life. Iteration is where we are from this point on for the rest of our life. Own it. Do not worry about perfection. Put it in there. See if you like it that way. If you don't, change it tomorrow. Notion is super easy to change. That's not a problem at all, right? So tag it, decide how you want something to be tagged, create the categories and literally lay it out. If you change your mind or it doesn't work for you in that way, that is totally fine. Move it tomorrow. Try it a different way tomorrow, okay? Now, when we talk about hierarchies and relationships, because you have databases within Notion that can be linked in a variety of different ways, there's a lot of flexibility that can be had in how Notion sees or how you are able to surface information. You can create parent-child relationships between things. You can create linked databases that will show you when that happens, you can create different ways to see this information. And so just for right now, just know that you can establish hierarchies and establish relationships that will allow you to use this in like an interconnected ecosystem instead as some one-off thing. This is going to be a knowledge hub, a second brain for yourself, for your organization. Know that with that brain, you're going to make different connections, and those connections may need to change over time. So having this flexibility is going to be super helpful for you as you grow. Okay, now Notion is really good for sharing and collaborating, right? Now, I know that there's a little bit of a learning curve because, like I said, Notion when you first start is a blank page, and it's like a one-click environment, not a two-click environment. So there are things that you have to kind of get used to. But once you get used to it, you realize that you have a whole world available to you, right? So you can collaborate with your teams in Notion. You can collaborate using Notion itself, or you can collaborate using things by like embedding Slack or other things into Notion. Both avenues are available to you. You can leverage the power of kind of real-time discussions, right? I can put something in Notion, do /com and put in a comment and say, hey team, I just added this, tell me what you think, and they can respond. Or I can mention a person and hit the @ symbol and their name, and then they will get a message saying that I just asked them a question about X, right? So it allows you to collaborate in that way. It also allows you to collaborate by being able to see all of the documentation about something all in the same space. And you don't have to go into someone's office or have them email it to you because it's there in Notion, in your Office Hub, in your wiki, in your document collective. You know what I mean? You can just go to Notion and to your Knowledge Hub and discover what it is that you need to know without having to interface with another employee, with a client, or ask them again. Maybe you asked them before and you didn't pay attention. And now you're like, oh, snap, I forgot. What was that they said? Well, you can literally just go into the system and see it for yourself. Hold on. Okay. Now, Notion is fabulous because it has databases that you can use. Okay. Now, in the databases, it allows you to create customizable experiences. So you can create a calendar view, you can create a table view, you can create a Kanban view and move things from one section to the other. You can create a multitude of different ways to be able to surface the information that you put into this database, right? You can see it as a table, or you can see it as a calendar, both on the same page or in separate pages based on your needs. Maybe I like a Kanban, but someone else likes a calendar view. We can each, on our own pages, see it the way that we need to see it. That is one of the main powers of being able to put things in databases. You can also create templates, because when you have this line item within your calendar, within your database, you can then say, okay, when I put things into this database, I need these functions applied to it. I need to know who created it. I needed to know what priority it is. I need to know whether it's a process or a thinking project. I need to know whatever it is that you need to know. You can add it within the template. And as you open a new document, open a new page, you can apply those things and it will happen one click everything that you need to be reminded about something will be there. Okay, then the next thing you can do is streamline your workflows. Your workflows, because all of that information can be templatized. You guys tell me what that word is, because I think that's a real word, but I'm not 100% sure. Template-to-size, whatever. We know that if you have a template that has X amount of information, you know that between Scott doing this, because I see Scott is on the call, you know that Scott has this same access to the same amount of information and he can click off what is necessary. You know that Jason has access to that information and he can click off what's necessary for his line item. Or you can change a whole database worth of information in one fell swoop because of the fact that you have these templates, which will allow you to streamline your workflows. Okay, now I did mention that you can import things from other platforms, right? You can import YouTube videos. You can import Google documents from Google Drive. You can embed it, right? Literally have the document, the item within the Notion page, or you can link to it. Either option is fine, but it allows you to have multiple sources feeding your Notion pages. Now, for your best practices, when you are dealing with things like Notion, pruning on a regular basis is helpful. If you forget, if you don't, that's fine. But it is helpful because as you come across something, if it is not to your liking, just taking the 2 seconds to update that page will make sure that your system will work in the way that you need it to work consistently. But as long as you put some time into making sure that your Notion is able to grow with you in the way that you need to see it, it will be a net for you. Like, you will always feel better having your access to this information than not, in my opinion. Now, data organization, right? I mentioned that you can have tags and you can have categories and you can have those types of things. You can add them at once. You can add them in bulk, but all that matters is that you iterate every day. Make sure that you move 1% closer to the perfect system for you, right? Iterate, iterate, iterate. That is the most important thing. In time, Notion comes up with new tools, new things that you can use. And what you may want may not be available to you right now, but it may be within a couple of months. So as long as you iterate, you will always have the ability to see your Notion system get closer to your ideal, right? And it will help you get to a place where everything that you think about, every thought that you have, every decision that you need to make, you can access the knowledge to make that decision in seconds. That would be my goal for you, right? And you can have a version control so that you can know, okay, this is version 1. This is now version 2. If we need to make changes, we'd like something from version 1. Let's revert back to that. You can do that. You have those types of capabilities. And then allowing a collaborative experience from the team to help you make the decisions about where things should be and where things should be for the team and where things should be for an individual. Now, I kind of went through some of the basics about Notion. Let me start showing you Notion. Okay, now, a lot of people here are from the AI working group, so this would be familiar to them. This is our AI working group's team page, okay? This is an example of different things you can have available to you in Notion. This started out as just a single blank page that we built up using categories, using tags, and thinking about how do I need to see this information? What do I want to use this information for? How can this information be useful to me? It did not start out this way, right? If you notice, it says version 2. There used to be a version 1. Version 1 was a little bit worse. And this one is going to get better and better every day, every month, every year that we are using it, right? But this is version 2. This is where we are right now. And we have the ability to, let's say, I think, oh, this should be over here. I'll just move it. And if I need to move it back, I can. Making changes is as simple as that. Making changes to how you see the information is just a simple, what would it be like if I had this available and then that available? Maybe I need to see the news and then member onboarding. Well, I could just move that. And if I needed to move it back, I just move it back, right? You have the flexibility to play with it until it gets to become perfect for you. Now, let's say I like food. I'm a big foodie, right? This is my recipe section, okay? I have a ton of recipes from all kinds of different people. I have, sometimes it's a YouTube video, right? So I have a copy of the video in here so that I can watch how they made whatever. And sometimes I put the recipe below, and sometimes I put techniques and tricks and tips and things that I found when I tried to make the dish, what I experienced, right? I also, just as a pulling this back up, if you notice, here, I list a bunch of things that can apply to my recipes, right? So it can be when I created this recipe, what URL it came from, what tags. So if I click on my tags, I can see what, is it a dessert? Is it a soup? Is it a resource? Is it a cookbook? Is it a type of food? Is it for my dog, right? I can list by ingredients, the different ingredients that are involved, so that when I say I need something that I can make with mango and coconut, I can click mango and coconut and all of the things that apply to that will come up, right? I can say whether it was from a course, right? Or like for what course it is, like sides, entrees, leftovers, etc. I could say if it's for a specific cuisine, right? I can give credit to the chef who created it. I can put the prep time. I can do all of those things. And that can be applied to any of the things within this database. This is a database and it is a full page database. Now, if we look, for instance, at my library page, for those who know me, you guys know I like to read a lot. And so I keep information in my library page. Now, let's just say, when I was explaining about templates, right? I said, I create templates so that, and you can create templates so that you can be able to apply certain things to something in one click. So this is my library. In my library, there are several templates, right? One of the templates is for online classes. This was an online class from Masterclass. The instructor was James Clear, right? This is about build habits that stick. I have a project that it's assigned to. I have a rating that it's assigned to. I have whether I've completed it or not, which I did. I have the fact that it's an online course. You see that here. That pulls up in the online course section that's here. I have the tags that it's related to. I can have just the tag that I put here. I can have multiple tags included. And I can search by those tags, or search by the name, or search by the topic, or search by all kinds of things, right? I have the image that pertains to the class. I have a synopsis of it in my own words. I have takeaways from the class. I have questions to ask, right? I have my perfect quotes. I have information about each lesson. And then now, if you notice, I have screenshots here, right? I don't have any screenshots in that section. You see, this is dark and this is not, right? I don't have any screenshots here because they're all down here. And I did not break them up into the specific lessons that each screenshot applied to. So they're all here. So while I did take this class and while I do have the information, is the information perfect? No. Can I fix it the next time I'm in here? Yes. And it's not a big deal, but I still have the information. I know what was valuable to me about that information, and I can search for that information in seconds. So if I click my search button and hit James, you see that, was that even 1 second? James Clear had build habits that stick. And it's not because the page was just open. That's just because of how fast it moves. It also has James Baldwin because he's somebody who I also have lots of information on. I if you notice, it has a little icon of a tree, right? For me, the tree indicates it's a part of my knowledge tree. It's general information about a topic, person, place, thing, right? They are a part of my knowledge tree. Now, if I did a class, if James Baldwin was alive and it was a class by James Baldwin instead of James Clear, and I added it to my library, I would hit new. And when I hit new, this would come up and it would be untitled, right? And I could write James Baldwin class. Okay, learn to spell. That would be helpful. Then you see some of my templates that are down here, right? So I have a template for a new book, a template for a new online course, YouTube video, podcast, blog, survey, reference material, PDF, email, person, right? If I clicked that thing, if I clicked new book, then things will happen. Number one, the thing up here would change. My cover would change and a book icon will show up, right? And then it will say it's a book format and that I need to read it, right? Because what's the point of having a book if you don't plan to read it? So it gives me those things just to start, but I could fill these things out and it will then segment it in a further way, right? Or I could not do anything at all. I could literally just write the name of the book and come back to it later. But this isn't a book. This is a class. So I can just hit format and make the change. Now, there's actually two ways to do that. So I can just hit format and change the tag, right? However, if I did that, then all of these other parts wouldn't change, right? So I can also do this and select everything that was here, backpedal out of that, and then make sure that that is empty. And then, well, okay, normally that would happen. When I did that, it would be blank. And then all of my templates would come back up again, but maybe I have another line highlighted in here that I did not realize. Let's see. Okay, it's not working, but it's like when you take your cards to the mechanic and then all of a sudden the thing that you went to the mechanic for is not happening in front of the mechanic. I guess this is one of those moments. But needless to say, you have my point, right? You can create the templates. The templates will allow you to change things. You can have a multitude of different things available to you in a multitude of different views. You can view this as a table. You can view this as a table that is sorted, that tells you, what you need to watch, what's in queue. Like, you have so many options about how you can view something. It's wonderful. Then we also have Notion allows you to sync your calendar. Okay, see? ExO Masterclass. So you sync your calendar. Everyone, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning and I start learning and feeding my brain at 3:30 in the morning. When you guys are saying to yourself, why does Layla know all of this stuff? It is not by accident. I literally work at learning. So don't feel bad when you don't have all of the things together when it comes to learning either. Like, I literally put time into it so that you don't have to put time into it, okay? I can give you the shortcuts about it and then help you move forward from there. But we can't all be doing all of the things. So you pick the thing that you love, you do that one, and then you can tell me the shortcut for that. So this with the calendar view, you can use your masterclass, you can use your calendar to put things on, and it will sync with your Google Calendar, but you can also sync all of the projects that you're working on in Notion and have all of those things be overlaid on top of this calendar. And that is super helpful. The last thing I want you to know is I have something called Collect and Process. This is where I clip things from the internet and I have it all drop into one centralized place. So when I'm on the internet, if I know it's specifically not a reference material that I want to go into my library, I would, let's say I'm on this page, right? I'm going to go on this page as an example, and I click the Notion bar, right? You will see that it automatically says collect and process. This means I can collect it, and I don't have to care right now about any details beyond that. I just know that it's collected. When I want to address it, either because I have time, either because it's my scheduled cleanup time, I can then go And hold on one second. I can then go through my collect and process and apply the different things. I can move things, right? So if you click on the 6 dots to the side, okay, you can say move to. And when you say move to, you can literally, remember we were just in James Clear and we made that fake James Baldwin class, the ones that you were just in would come up, but you can literally just type that this is for webinar. I don't know, let's say type webinar. And if I had something about webinars, it would come up and I would have some options that I could throw that one into. When you do that, it will just come to as a page, show up as a page. And by page, I mean, it will look like this little icon of a page and it will be at the bottom of whatever page you just moved that to. But let's just do that as an example, because I want to show you something else. So let's say I hit move to. You can also do Command Shift and P and hit move. But let's say I did move to James Baldwin class, right? Now we know I don't have a class on James Baldwin. Under here, you see it says Dow Jones moved to James Baldwin class. And so it went directly into that page. Now, if I go back into, let's see, I can do 2 things. I can search this page right here. And of course, my Notion decides to freeze on me. Let's try this again. There we go. So I can type here, James, right? And I just typed James. So James Baldwin and James Clear comes up. And as you can see, because there's no picture in there, Dow James webinar shows right there because it's in the body, right? I could click on it and say, oh, that's not where I needed that to go. So I can move it to where I really intended it for it to go. And sorry, let me move that out the way as well. I can move it again. Let's see. Hold on. Hit the 6 dots. I can move it again to where I did intend to send it. And let's say that was to send back to my collect and process, right? So that has been moved. Now, James Baldwin is empty. But moving that page from one area to another was as simple as saying, either hitting the 6 dots and saying move to, or doing Shift, Command, and 9 and moving it automatically that way. Okay. Now, when you use Notion to move things around, if you move something around, you'll notice that it will say at the bottom, undo. It will allow you to, let me show that to you actually. So if we were here, and let's say, because remember I moved this back, right? So it's back here. Now, let's say I wanted to move this to, what was the correct page I wanted to say? Let's say I wanted to move it to, instead, James Clear. And I moved it. You see it says down at the bottom, move to, you can visit or undo, okay? Now, it only lasts for a few seconds, but if you move something, you can click visit and it will take you to the page where it just went. Because if it comes up at the bottom of the page, maybe you want to send it somewhere else, right? So let's say this is a tool, right, for an AI tool. If I move this to my AI working group, and I'm going to type it in so you can see it come up. And you see AI working group. Now, when I go to that page, I can hit visit right here, and it will take me to that page. And when it comes up, it's going to come up at the very bottom of the page, and then I can drag it to where I needed it to be. Let's say it needed to be here. And then I can put it in its proper place. Now we have an AI tools library, so I can move it into the AI tools library by just dragging it over, letting it highlight, and dropping it there. But if I wanted to drop it above or below, then you drag it, see the blue line, and then you can drop it, okay? Now, as you can see, this is a page without an icon. It tells you can change your icon. If you hover over it, what is included within the page will kind of give you a brief, do a brief preview, right? Now, the tools library, you see that has an icon. And as you can see, if I hover over it, you'll see something. Now, let's say for the news, right? The news has more stuff in it, just as an example, right? And so when I hover over the news, you see a little preview of what is in that page. So you don't have to click into it to be able to see what is in it. Okay. How am I doing on time, people? Hello.
Layla, how much content do you have left?
Oh, I can be done. Like literally, I can be done.
Okay.
Let me just say this one last thing, okay? Knowledge management is not, it is a wonderful thing. It takes so much stress out of your life that you do not realize, because you don't realize how many things, how much weight those open loops in your life are causing you. As long as you keep having all these open loops, you have agita, like underneath the surface, just kind of bothering you because you know things are not taken care of. If you can get it into a system, it can relieve all of those little things. You know, like when your computer is hanging up and it's hanging up every few seconds, you know how much time that takes out of your day. And then when you streamline your computer again, you're like, wow, I cannot believe how fast I was able to do that, because having those open loops creates hangups in your life. Okay, now I'm done.
If you enjoyed this, click the thumbs up and subscribe for more videos just like it. The algorithm thinks you'll enjoy this video next.